Okay, this is section 2 of chapter 5, trade-offs and the economy. All right, so we ended the first section on what would be the optimal choice for the Amazon landowner. Now, taking this further, policy choices depend upon the choice of discount rate. So as you can see in the table here, and this is also on your in your book, if the discount rate is 7%, then it would be best to raise the cattle. If the discount rate is 10%, it would be best to tap the land for rubber. But if the discount rate is 12%, it would be best to sell the land. Generally, if the discount rate is higher, um, that means that the person needs much more instant gratification because they want to have the value in the future, in the immediate future, needs to be much closer to the value today. But the lower the discount rate, um, the more you can stave off the benefits going into the future. You don't necessarily need to have gratification today. Okay, so here's present value formulas, and you can do these present value formulas into infinity. The first case shows present value for n periods, and the second case is more sophisticated in that it shows the net of benefits minus costs for n periods, net present value. That second one is rather important because it not only looks at the stream of benefits going into the future, but also the stream of costs going into the future. All right, your book has presidents looking at both Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans, based upon a study by William Nordhaus, one of the more famous economists, especially in the area of environmental economics. Nordhaus just won the Nobel Prize for economics, so specifically in environmental economics. Republicans favor relatively high discount rates. So you see Ronald Reagan there and George W. Bush. Ronald Reagan favored a 10%. So he wanted gratification much more immediately. George W. Bush kind of depended, 3, 7, and 10%. The Democrats, however, favored somewhat lower rates. Bill Clinton between 2 and 8%. Jimmy Carter was the lowest as well, lowest of all, as low as 0%. And our Barack Obama between 2 and 7%. Our current president, Donald Trump, God only knows, obviously he's a Republican. Something tells me he would favor a much higher discount rate to compensate for what he's losing now. All right. So 4 normative questions that are central to discount rate debates. Number 1. How self-serving should discount rates be? Now, impatient individuals naturally discount future benefits and costs, preferring to receive benefits now and pay later. Selfish concerns for immediate gratification lead to relatively high discount rates. Now, there's also some mention here about something called the shadow price. In the process of policy evaluation, the returns from a policy can be compared directly with the returns available from alternative investments if the alternative returns would accrue the same timing as the policy's benefits. If the alternative returns would not last as long or fluctuate over time, the shadow price provides a more accurate measure of the opportunity cost of the policy. To find the shadow price, calculate the net value of the returns from the best alternative investment, then compare the shadow price with the present value of the policy's benefits. So I guess what this means is you look at what you could receive in an alternative investment vis-a-vis what the net present value of the policy option would be. Okay. Number 2, should environmental benefits receive special treatment? So the cost of environmental regulation comes sooner rather than the benefits, meaning that the application of a single discount rate to cost of benefits diminishes the present value of the benefits more than the costs. That is most certainly true. The rail is a very, very good example of that here in Hawaii. The costs are definitely now, while the benefits have absolutely a stream into the future. Okay. Number 3, how should we treat benefits and costs that extend to future generations? When future costs and benefits accrue to another generation, self-interested discount rates may rationally be higher than when they accrue to the generation making the decisions. So this depends on the extent to which people involved feel responsibility to future generation or derive utility from providing benefits for others. If you really care about future generations, I suppose your discount rate would be lower relative to if you care about yourself or the immediate next generation. And finally, what is the appropriate treatment of uncertainty? So one can be, well, I'll just read here and then go into risk neutral, adverse, or risk loving. As discussed earlier in the section, if the benefits from a contemplated policy are clear and certain, the risk-free rate of return may be an appropriate guideline for estimating the discount rate. In the case of risky investments, relatively high expected rates of return are needed to attract investors who dislike uncertainty and the possibility of losses. Now, the difference between the risk-free rate of return and the average return on risky investments is called the risk premium. The risk premium provides an incentive for investors to bear risk. Now, if you are, okay, let me see here in our second paragraph. It is argued that investments in environmental policies with uncertain returns warrant the addition of a risk premium to the discount rate. Okay, this lowers the assessed present value of an investment to reflect disfavor with having a range of possible outcomes. Okay, and they also mentioned risk neutral. These investors only care about the expected value of the outcome. Risk averse care only about the expected value of the outcome, but also about the range of other possible outcomes, let's say different discount rates. And risk loving prefer a range of outcomes to a certain outcome with the same expected value. They would pay a premium to receive the outcome of the coin flip rather than the certain $1. But most individuals tend to be risk averse. They care much more about losing than they do about the possibility of winning. Okay, that is going to end part 2 of chapter 5.